No. Listen to a pop with two brainiacs, they maniacs, they topics insane, spontaneous, adds more spark to your brain. CEO with a frame, Brian Engine at work. So what is you saying? Place the bus to your ears. Stay tuned, stay in, stay close, no fear. Why you do what you do? Just sit back, relax for another episode. N.Cast is back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the first time I've heard that intro.
Yeah. Well, it's a little choppy, but I've been working on it. As you heard me pause in the middle of it, but I'm your co-host, Prince Ayo, and you have next to me Brian.
I am the Brian, the only Brian.
Only Brian. How you been, Brian?
Since last episode, not much has changed. But I guess that's for the better because I'm in a pretty good place right now.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely in a better place than I was last week. I'll tell you that much. I'm trying to change like certain things about my mindset and habits. It's actually what I wanted to talk to you about today. So I picked up like habits to like work on, like good habits. So
good habits, not the bad habits.
Yeah, not the bad habits. Yeah, good habits.
So, the habits that make us better as people.
Exactly.
All right, I can get behind that.
So, two things I worked on. First, my mom, mama's boy, whatever. She pointed out to me, she was like, "You don't have any soft skills. I mean, look at the way you close the fridge. You slam it. You have no soft skills." So I was like, all right, bet. Let me pick up some soft skills, you know what I'm saying? Find some balance in my life. So I've been trying to teach myself to play the guitar, even though I had it for like 5 years and didn't touch it, but now I'm trying to like actually.
It's a beautiful instrument to learn how to play because like you want to talk about soft skills, like playing the guitar is all about the moderated like touch of the finger and like just a slight like difference in the way you stroke the string can create a whole different sound. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm behind that. I'm behind that good habit all the way through.
Yeah.
Well, we'll call that a hobby at that point.
Exactly. And then the second one is I've always grown up with like some type of like speech impediment and not being able to project myself how I wanted to, and doing some research, apparently freestyling like helps you enunciate your words better and like project your words out. So I've been taking notes since 2 weeks ago now. 30-day challenge of just like going on YouTube. There's this thing called Word Jump, and it's like 2 minutes, and see if you can rhyme each word and make sense while you're rhyming. And it's so hard because obviously the beat's going fast and stuff like that. You just have to think the top of the head, but it's like such a good exercise to be like quick on your feet and stuff like that.
Oh, so it's like a vocal exercise.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that's how I treat it as. Like obviously other people treat it as different reasons.
Yeah. So I'm no scientist, but the way like kind of speech impediments work is that like your mind is struggling to kind of put the thoughts that you have in your head into like words, and sometimes you kind of like jump over yourself a bit. But I think there's like different kinds of speech impediments.
No, you're absolutely. It's like that's one of the kinds, but also it's like it's a filtering process for me. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes, like obviously growing up, like being more self-aware of myself, you start to like filter yourself out, noticing like picking up social cues, noticing the audience in front of you, stuff like that. So. When I stop or slow down, it's because I'm filtering my thoughts just to make sure I'm saying what I want to say. If that makes sense.
No, since we're on this topic, I actually learned something, I think like a couple weeks ago. And like, so apparently like, like a scientist did a lot of research, and like the way people think, like the way people like think thoughts in their head can be different, and like you have two different spectrums. You have people who actually think full sentences in their head. I fall in that camp, and I naturally just thought that that's the way that everybody like would think. But apparently, there's also people that don't think like thoughts, and they just have. Don't think words, and they just have like just raw thoughts. And the way it was kind of funny because I have a friend on Twitter who was talking about how she watched this one movie, and this person was like thinking like sentences in their head, because you know how movies portray that, right? They have like the inner monologue, like thinking thoughts in their head, and then she's like, oh, like that's so fake, like that's not how thinking works, and like all friends like, yes it is.
And then you realize not everybody thinks the same, so it happens. I look at it as like a train of thought, like legit train of thought. You know what I mean? Like if you're speaking, you have a train of thought, you let it go, and when it gets interrupted, like I don't know about you, but sometimes when my train of thought gets interrupted by somebody because they want to interject, I lose it.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean that happens with everybody.
Yeah, but
sometimes it happens with me without even an interruption.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll be thinking, and then like for like a split second, I'll stop thinking about that thing, and then I'll just like, wait, what was I just thinking?
Yeah, exactly. And then you sit there like, oh. Like,
and you're like, you spend like 10 minutes trying to get it back, and you don't get it, and you're just frustrated.
The worst is when you get it back like 2 days later.
Oh yeah. Oh,
you're like,
yeah, that sucks.
But let's get into the topic today, yo. So today we're gonna talk about confirmation bias.
Dun, da, da, da. I feel like this at this point we've kind of I feel like this is something that some people who have really been sticking with us and like have really like been like taking in all the topics we've been talking about.
And even if they haven't, it's still documented. They can go back and look at
it. Yeah, that's true. But I'm saying is like this is kind of something that people would expect us to talk about at this point because it falls in line with like a lot of other like concepts we were talking about.
Yeah.
So yes. So I just want to let listeners know this featured topic of the week was picked out by Prince here. I think we're going back and forth.
Yeah, we're picking out topics and stuff. So I guess I'll lead it. So I'll just paraphrase confirmation bias. It's basically just like the lies. I'd simply put it like the lies we tell ourselves. But it really is it's what we consume without challenging those thoughts. You know what I mean? Like whatever media, whether it's books, social media, TV, if you just constantly consume all the stuff you like and don't challenge the information that you consume to outside like information because it makes you feel uncomfortable, that's considered confirmation bias because you're not willing to look outside of the realm that you consume. So that's a little choppy, but that's basically like it's better to look outside the box just in case. Yeah. So, and have an objective point of view.
So to kind of put it in different words, confirmation bias is when you actively seek out information that, for lack of a better term, quote unquote, confirms your preconceived notions
or dispositions.
Yeah, and without seeking out anything that could potentially challenge that. It, like for example, like say I'm in an argument on Twitter and I'm arguing with somebody about something, and then like to prove my point, I like go on like Google, type in like my argument, and then just find like some article that was written that quote unquote proves my point, and then I'll post it back on Twitter and be like, hey, look, this proves my point. See, it's in writing. But like, I'll get into this just a little bit later, but that's such a huge disservice to like the way proper research is supposed to work. It's like, where did that article come from? Like, who wrote it? Like, blah 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 blah.
And is the article pandering? Does it have a narrative? Does it have like interior motives? You just don't understand where it's actually coming from.
Yes. So there's this other term that's really related to confirmation bias, and I'm kind of mad at myself because I forgot it, but I do remember the definition, and it's basically sort of going back to this filter
conversation.
Filter thing we have. It's like it's you only taking in what you want to hear and blocking out other things that make you feel uncomfortable or challenge you or anything like that. So in like a real, like a physical sort of example of that is, say like I'm wearing like noise cancellation headphones. Technically, I'm filtering out things that I don't want to hear, and I'm listening to things that I do want to hear. And the repercussion of that is that I don't hear what's going on around me. Say I had some AirPod Pros and I turn on the noise cancellation mode, which I'll tell you works really fucking well. And I've experienced it firsthand. It works really well, and it kind of scared me. I was like, "Whoa, get these off my ear." With that being said,
it better work well. You know how expensive those AirPods are.
Yes,
like, they're so expensive. They better work well.
Yeah,
and
they work well. Yeah. They work well. But yeah, like I'm blocking out my surrounding, and I'm only listening to things I want to hear. So that's like in like the headphones sort of way. Like a more theoretical way to think about it is like, say I'm on social media, say like we'll use Twitter because Twitter you can do this really really well, and I'm only following people that you know link this back to confirmation bias. I'm only following people that quote unquote confirm my ideals and ideologies and like create this echo chamber for myself. And the people that don't agree with me or that try to like attack me or like try to argue against me, you can either not follow those people, you can mute them, or you can block them. And if you block them, they're gone. You don't have to see them at all on Twitter.
That's interesting because I kind of, it depends on the platform I'm on. Like Instagram, I follow more of my friends and stuff like that. Twitter, it's more so. I made a new Twitter account like a year or two ago, so that's just basically interaction with people I meet online and stuff like that. But then like other platforms, it just depends. Like TikTok, for instance, they have people give out so much information, like just like regular life information that you would like need for like taxes or like just home improvement, DIY stuff. So I like actually follow some of those people because that's like their niche of content, you know? So like, it depends on the platform. Sometimes it's not always about agreeing with them. Sometimes it's like, what value do they bring to my timeline?
Yeah, and it all just comes down to like the filter you were talking about earlier. It's like, what do I want to hear and what do I not want to hear?
Yeah.
TikTok's interesting because TikTok has a really, really aggressive algorithm that like, you know.
It got progressive. Like it was a progressive, like aggressive algorithm. Like it was like really open doored, and then like obviously the explosion happened, and now they're like it's a supply and demand, you know, scale behind it. Now they understand the demand's high, so they're like bringing down the organic reach.
Well, you're talking about from the content creator's perspective.
No, I'm talking about the actual platform perspective.
So from the like the consumer.
Yeah. No. I'm talking about like the business, like how they're handling it and stuff like that.
Oh, how they're like handling the algorithm from a business perspective.
Business and social perspective.
Okay, because like for me, like when I mean like aggressive algorithm, I'm saying like it like plays close attention to the videos I'm watching, the videos I'm skipping, and like it just does a very good job, and you can kind of take that for a bad thing or a good thing. It does a good job of figuring out what videos actually interest me. So say like I watch a string of videos that are like Korean comedies, and then like whenever like there's like a video of like some like Instagram model like dancing, like I skip it. So like I would get naturally less of those like Instagram models dancing in the video, and I would get more like, you know, Korean centric videos.
It's very niche oriented. It's a very niche.
Yeah, that's what the album's all about. It's like finding that super specific niche to keep you hooked.
Yeah. My only issue about it is maybe confirmation bias towards me, but I see a lot of people like pandering, and on this app, it's the reason why I find it so interesting because we live in an exposure era. You know what I mean? Like so much information, people are getting exposed online.
It's super overwhelming.
TikTok took it to like a different level because like it's like in HD and like it's like on the scene.
It's all in your face. Yeah, like here's the thing, right? You log into Instagram and like your first thing is like see like your following feed and like it's cool. You go to Discover tab. Discover tab, you know, has like a grid that you can kind of scroll through and refresh.
Oh yeah, TikTok flipped it. So instead of going to the Explore page, the For You page is on the thing you open.
Yes. Yeah. So like it's literally as soon as you open TikTok, it's basically Explore page. Like you see a video right away.
Yeah.
Swipe down, see another video. Swipe down, another video. Like it's super, super in your face, and it's literally designed to overwhelm you.
Yeah.
But because of you're overwhelmed, it's like, whoa, there's so much content. There's so much stuff I want to watch. It's like you watch one video literally before you don't even swipe up, like just goes to the next video automatically. And it's like, and you're like super invested in that. And that's why like TikTok, I heard a lot of people say TikTok is like the biggest time waster. If you just like bored and have nothing to do.
It's the biggest time waster because it's the volume of creation being placed on the platform, and then the amount of seconds you watch is between like 7 to 25 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So like you could just easily scroll through. Like it's just snacks. It's junk food.
Mm-hmm.
for your mind. You know what I mean? It's just
it's junk food. Yeah,
it's junk food.
That's the perfect comparison.
Like
it's the McDonald's of social media apps.
Because it's fast creation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's not well thought out. It's not like a YouTube format where it's like long discussions and stuff like that.
Yeah. I understand completely. So we kind of went off on a big tangent about TikTok, but to kind of reel this back to our featured topic, me and Prince were talking off the record before.
Oh my bad. I know you wanted to talk about the research and confirmation.
Yeah, I was about to say it's like we were talking off the record. It's like.
Well, we were talking about the social psychology, so that was my part. So I guess segue to
so we were talking about how I was like, all right, you're gonna talk about the social aspect. Yeah. Give the mic to me, and I'm gonna talk about what confirmation bias does for like scientific research. Yeah. And when I say scientific research, I don't mean like actual like biology or chemistry. I mean like anything that you are researching and citing sources for and writing.
Due diligence.
Yeah, and you're creating theories and ideas. That's all considered, research, like the scientific method. So with the stage set on that, what's bad about confirmation bias? Well, confirmation bias, if you're writing like a research paper, has potential to completely destroy everything that you're working towards and just make your whole sort of theory misguided. Because the point, like the definition of confirmation bias is that, you're actively seeking out things that confirm your preconceived notions. And that slaps the face of, hard-earned research, because the point of research
is looking at things objectively.
Yes, looking at things objectively, breaking like evidence down and putting the pieces yourself and coming up with a brand new theory. So what's the point of me researching if I'm just actively trying to confirm what I think I already know? Yes. And you're thinking like, what's the point of that? If you have confirmation bias, why would you want to research? Well, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people who do research work that actually just try to confirm their own preconceived.
And it's like smart people too. That's the scary part about it. It's some
people
smart people
who actually write really well, who
like you would respect them, like intellectual wise, like.
I mean, to be honest, like this might be kind of a controversial opinion, but I feel like a lot of scientists and famed philosophers, I think all of them had like some sort of like research that kind of just pandered to confirmation bias.
Well, when I was watching this one video about confirmation bias, that's what it was like emphasizing on. Like we all are biased to a degree because we're human beings.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's like immune from confirmation bias. It's about like pointing it out.
Yeah, and subjectivity is fine. Yeah. Because you think about it, like creating theories, like theories are at the end of the day pretty subjective.
Ideologies.
I see ideologies, especially when it comes to philosophy. Yeah. The philosophy, there absolutely is no objectivity. I'm about a third into my spring semester this year, and one of my classes, we literally just for the past 5 weeks have been just talking about all these different famed philosophers and their ideologies, how they relate to one another, how they build off of each other, and it's just like there's no right answer. The theories are subjective, that's fine. But confirmation bias, that's not fine.
Because it's hard to combat that with philosophy.
Yeah. So,
that's why I think philosophy was losing its credibility over time. And
no, philosophy's always been really, really strong because
it's fundamental principles.
Yes, behind it's fundamental principles, and there's different avenues you can take your philosophy. I can be a philosopher, but my specialty is talking about civil rights. I can be another philosopher, and my specialty is talking about Marxism.
I'm thinking in the sense of how can you monetize that as much, because the only time I see philosophers are in scholarly places like schools, libraries. I don't really see them working anywhere else. Maybe YouTube nowadays or online platforms.
Well, we kind of touched base on that. Maybe not too much, but our last episode we were talking about the theorists versus the activists. If you're a philosopher, you're a hardcore theorist. Yeah, you're a hardcore theorist, meaning you do no action. You're just studying. You dedicate your life to the thinking man. The thinking man. You're just studying. Yeah. You don't take action. So it's you're how do the theorists monetize? They don't. They just write just because they just find it interesting and they want to share their research. So yeah, I'm taking a class this semester. This is a separate class than the one I was talking about earlier, where I am currently in the early stages of writing like a 10-page research paper. Spoiler alert, it's about video game design and how video game developers are creating game design that accommodates for people with physical disabilities. And I think it's going to be pretty cool, but more on that later. Not later this episode, but maybe later this year.
Yeah, we'll come back updated.
Yeah, so the things that we're taught in class is that when you're writing like a research paper or creating a theory, you know, before even like you start the actual research, it's important that you come up with a question. That's how all these like, you know, all these scholarly articles and these theories and all like these, you know, books dedicated to these like, you know, social concepts, they all start with a question, and that is taken as a way to kind of combat, you know, falling into the trap of confirmation bias. Because if you start with a question, you know, you're going in open-minded, okay, and you're just like, all right, why is this so, and what can I find out that can potentially explain it? And like I said, you have to come in with a very like open mind and be willing to look through all kinds of different sources. And that's another thing we're taught. We're taught to, you know, actively seek out, you know, a wide array of sources. Meaning, first, what do you call it? Oh wow, this is really bad. What do you call it? First, primary sources. See, it has the number. It has the number.
Oh,
in it.
like secondary, primary. Okay.
Primary,
I was
secondary
like
sources.
Annotated notes and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Annotate your notes, obviously. Yeah, that's really important, especially if you're writing like a big paper.
Sorry, I'm still stuck in the real world. I've been out here for a little bit, so like, I was just about to ask you though. Besides, was it Juster, publisher, sources, or whatever? All those research like platforms that you have in school. When I was in school, those research platforms, you needed like codes and stuff to get onto them because obviously.
Are you talking about like the library sources?
Nah, like library source, the online library database.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah, the database.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is going to the real world, especially like my first couple of years out of college. It's very hard. It was getting hard, especially because it was around 2016 and a lot of fake news and stuff like that. It was very hard to decipher what was real, what was fake, because each was trying to combat with each other with more information. So like it got to a point where like I would listen to this YouTuber, and I just feel like he's bullshitting me like halfway through the video because I'm just like he's pandering obviously because he's in a niche, but like it's how he's doing it. It's usually he. I'm not like trying to discriminate.
So you were able to easily recognize that, right?
Well, that's because it was also a high sense of like political like disruption going on too. So like, I was skeptic of almost everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That means you've been taught well because you have an adequate degree of media literacy, so you could tell like if something's in good faith and bad faith, like what's the intention behind something. Because, you know, that's something we can't take for granted because there's a lot of people that don't really have good media literacy skills. And if you remember, one of our earliest episodes was media literacy.
Yeah, it was one of our earlier episodes. But yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. Some had to do with media literacy because I was exposed to it because that was my major in college. But it's also like any human that's like competent enough to pick up on social cues and like see when people are like put on some type of facade. It doesn't matter if you're on camera. We see your facial expression. You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't know. It's just some people are good at acting.
But
some people are good at acting and all that stuff.
How do you know
that
these what you call social cues and their signs and leading to bad faith arguments? How do you know that's not your confirmation?
Exactly. That's why I get skeptical. It's not even just about them. It's about me making sure like I'm seeing it straight too. That's why that year I remember like I was very skeptical, but I wanted to make sure it was not like me internally arguing with myself and trying to either talk myself out of certain things or like skew my thought into certain subjects that may not been true.
Going back to your example, like watching this YouTuber's like I can tell like he's BSing me. One of the best ways to tell what the intentions are when you're consuming some kind of source is to obviously what's the word? I messed this up already. To do your homework and
due diligence,
find out actually look up the source that you're reading / watching. So obviously look up the author, look up their publisher, the time it was this source was made. You can find out a lot of things just by using Google. Yeah.
But even when you find a lot of things, you gotta know what you're looking for too.
Yes,
at the end of the day,
that's true as well.
That's not emphasized a lot. Knowing what you're looking for.
Yes.
Because then you have some type of direction. Just because Google's in front of you. I've always been taught that computers can't work themselves. You give computers a list of instructions.
Yes.
They execute the command.
Yes. And I used to do coding for 2 months. That is very true. Computers will not do anything unless you tell them specifically what you want to do.
It's the same thing with search engines.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So we're near the 30-minute mark, 4 minutes from it. So I guess we'll get into the last thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Right. I was talking quite a bit, so I'll throw this rock back to you. What do you got? What do you want our listeners to kind of take away from this discussion?
Whether people pick up on this podcast next week or in the next 5 years, please challenge your own thoughts. It's one thing that's there's racism, there's sexism, there's all these other controversial isms out there, but you gotta realize what are you consuming to make you believe those thoughts? Because being a blatant hypocrite is probably worse than all those things, honestly. Because you're deliberately trying to be destructive, and you don't even know it because it's confirmation bias. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and that's where I feel it's dangerous. That's why I really wanted to talk about this topic today.
And it's timely too, because it's 2020. We're getting into the elections, and if 2016 was anything to go by, we're gonna see a massive flood of disruptive information that's meant to, that's can be almost if not completely fabricated. It's meant to rile people up. So yeah, man, be safer out there. The internet is the wild, wild west. I guess I'm going into my closing thoughts now.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, sure. Yeah. One thing though, I wanted to bring back up that I kind of glossed over earlier. When I was talking about the thing that the name of the term, I completely forgot, but I remember the definition. The filtering part. Filtering out things that you don't want to hear and only consuming things that you do want, that makes you feel comfortable. Filtering out things that don't make you comfortable. I'm not saying that, doing that is, a really bad thing, because as human beings, we naturally want to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
We don't like it when things make us feel uncomfortable. So, yes, I do suggest that you step out your comfort zone and, really like you said, challenge yourself, challenge your thinking. But it's okay, to fall back into that comfort zone when things start to get too much. So a good example of this is, I use Twitter as a good example for 80% of my sort of analogies. Yeah, sure. But because it's a really good example, because it's a really fucking powerful social media platform. Going back to Twitter as the example, say on my feed, I told earlier that I just want to follow people that make me feel comfortable. Say I instead follow a wide range of people that have a wide range of different opinions. And then all of a sudden my Twitter feed is chaos, because one tweet says something, the other tweet has a completely different opinion. Next you know, people from Group A and Group B are fighting, and Group C is talking about, look at these people fighting, they're savages. And then Group D is like, oh, none of this matters anyway, you need to be focusing on this. And then Group E is like, you need to be focusing on this. And it can get a lot.
It's funny that you said that, because I just had a little epiphany right now. when you see like online discussions like that online, what's the main objective when people are like combating on each other?
Like they're arguing with each other online.
Yeah. What's that main objective?
They're like trying to uphold their ideals and like sway people to their side,
which ideally means who's right.
Yes.
The problem with who's right is that it's like it's a ongoing like discussion, and most times people are not just gonna surrender or agree. They'll just say, yeah, you are right, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes they just want to give up the argument so they can walk away because they think you're crazy.
Yes. So something, that little rant you went on reminded me of something else that, was brought to my attention the other week. Old time philosophers back in, like hundreds of years ago, all the way up to I'd say like just like 20th century, a lot of these philosophers were talking about truth and, what is, what truth is. And recent philosophers have really challenged the idea that truth, 100% truth does not exist.
No, it doesn't.
It does not exist. And we're in an age where a lot of philosophers are really accepting the idea that, when it comes to truth, there is, like we just said, it's never 100%. There's always some things that are kind of subjective in the way they're told. And it's a really, 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 really big concept with if you dive deep into it, you gotta accept that you're gonna be going down the rabbit hole. Yeah. But man, I don't know. Maybe we might be the ones that might go down in that rabbit hole in the future. Maybe.
I mean, keep bringing it up. I'll figure out an episode for it.
What is truth?
What is true?
What is truth? Does it exist?
Keep it up, Brian. It'll be next week's show.
No, it might. I don't know. It might. All right, so we're past the 30-minute mark now, so I think it'll be a good time to sign off. Who's going first?
So my social media platform is obviously Nigma Prince for Twitter. I keep going off of that one. I keep forgetting my Instagram because it's personal and it's the show Instagram, so I'll do the show first because that's what we're on right now. At N_cast_. That's the handle for the Instagram. And then my personal is p._Nigma. And then the YouTube channel is Nigma Productions. And you can also find us on iTunes, Spotify. I shut down SoundCloud because it just wasn't working out. It wasn't working out. It's more
trouble than it's worth.
Yeah. And way more expensive than it needs to be.
Yeah, I feel it.
But yeah, go ahead, Brian.
So yeah, you can find me on Twitter or Instagram. Same handle. It's Brian Lives Life. BrianLivesLife. Just a quick news drop here. I'm actually in the early stages. I feel like I say this a lot. I'm in the early stages of a pretty big personal project.
YouTube, right?
So I'll just let it all out right now. I'm actually going to start recording myself practicing Korean.
Hey.
Yeah, so
okay.
It's still in the early stages, but I'm hoping to kind of start getting it ready probably a week from this recording. I'm just kind of having some final thoughts regarding which kind of setup I want to go with. More on that, maybe in the next week.
You gotta tell us, update us.
Yeah. But basically what I'm planning on doing is I'm planning on streaming on Twitch myself, learning Korean, actually learning Korean, because I got this idea because a lot of people on Twitch and YouTube like to teach languages, but I feel like not a lot of people actually showcase themselves actually learning the language and just really
it's part of the journey.
Yeah.
Oh my, Brian. I freaking love you for this.
And the way I got this idea because I'm really big into fighting games, and I noticed what a lot of people like to do is stream themselves practicing fighting games, not even playing other people, but they'll stream themselves practicing. We call it labbing because it's you're learning things, you're going in a lab and you got your microscope and you're okay, what happens if I do this?
I'm gonna add more to what you're saying. And I keep saying this almost every episode, but the journey that, labbing, is adding context to why people or how people get so good at what they're at. Because I felt at least growing up, when you see movies, they like jump from like they'll have like a story plot where they start with the kid young. And then like they just jump to like teenage years, and then they just jump to adult years.
And you're talking about like they kind of like gloss over like the training.
Yeah,
it'll be like a quick like montage.
It'll be like a fighting Muay Thai movie.
Yeah.
Like Steven Seagal type bullshit movie. I don't know, like or what's his name? Well, Wesley Snipes, something like that. But he never did something like that. But like you know what I mean, like childhood, teenage, adult, and then he's just a sensei, and it's like, how did that work? Like, you know what I mean? There's no like context to how like,
like
what
we
he
want to
actually
see
did.
the journey. Yeah. But
some movies did it, but it was like it was still like pseudo because it'd be like clips. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like that's where I got the idea from. So I was like, you know what? Instead of labbing like fighting games, let me lab a language. And I'm hoping to have some pretty cool people on there. I got some friends that said they're willing to help me out. And I'm really excited to do it. More information probably next episode.
That's dope. All right. Well, okay. So, all right, Brian. Sign us out.
안녕히 계세요. 또 만나요.
All the things you try to tell me don't really make no sense at all. All the things you try to tell me don't